Do 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 do. I kinda need to see people showing up in order to test this. I'm seeing a couple of viewers. Can you guys hear me all right? I've been messing around with a noise gate. Hello? Hello, hello? Hello? Hello, hello? I cannot tell if no one is saying anything or if no one can hear me, which is a bit of an issue. Okay, so you can in fact hear me though. That is good to know because I don't know what I'm doing. And I think I have the noise gate set up correctly and is cutting out at least most of the fan. But who knows? In the meantime, though, welcome to the ReBBL Playoffs round of 32. Today, we have the If at First versus Carnivore Roses. And then, later, we'll have Scale Me Tender versus Broke Armor Mountain, assuming no one picks up that game, which it doesn't seem like anyone is, so I'll probably have to figure out how to cover that game when it starts where we'll be joining it halfway through. Which is annoying, but whatever. However, let's focus on the now. We have Carnivore Roses, hosted by Docmark, coming out of REL. I believe this is REL Premiere. Where did my Rebel.net tab go? Oh, no. I stand corrected. Darkmark is out of G-Men Fresh. I don't know why I thought he was in REL. We have a thrower, on the ball, pass, safe pass, block, sure hands, dump off. It's level 4, so safe pass onward, I believe. I'm not entirely sure the default skills of Amazon throwers because I just haven't played against them somehow. Um, we've got a lineman with tackle, wrestle, kick, fend, block, wrestle, minus movement, a fresh blocker. Ooh, they come with defensive by default. That's interesting. Bludge, this thrower, which has Nerve Steel, Cannoneer, and Leader. Fresh, and then a Blitzer with Block, Mighty Blow, and then block, sidestep, tackle, and then dauntless on the lineman. 14 players total, 3 rerolls rostered, which means that they'll be having 4 rerolls with the leader. Interesting that he's gone with leader while having 3 rerolls. Perhaps he's just run out of pass skills that he actually wants on this piece. Moving on, we have If at First by J-Leave, who is out of REL Premier, and he is in first in REL Premier at 9-1-2, which is quite impressive. We have a Blodge Mighty Blow Werewolf, Block Mighty Blow, Tackle, Dodge, Flesh Golem with Block Guard, another Flesh Golem with just Guard, a Wraith with Mighty Blow, Guard, Tackle, a Guard Wraith, Block Ghoul, Blodge, Moving Up Runner, Dirty Player minus Agi Zombie. The minus Agi does not matter. And then a bunch of fresh zombies, so 13 players total, 3 rerolls. Let's see, 1625 TV, where were we on Carnivore Roses? 1500. Some of these players could be leveled, but I don't think it's worth it, because then you're giving them a wizard. And that seems questionable, to just give them the wizard. Are we live yet? We are not live. So let's take a look at the inducements for Amazons. Are there any cheap star players? Not really. Like, you could get Helmet, but I don't see that being worth it. Yeah, so unless J-Leave gives Doc Mark some more funds, we're probably just going to see just some basic inducements out of this. This is the first time I've actually finished teams and had nothing to talk about, and the game has not been live. Part of it is I don't know Amazons well enough to talk about, like, the build. Like, this is a super thrower that can throw from forever. This guy picks up the ball and can dump it off if he gets blitzed. He's got a super lineman, and his blockers kind of suck. Only 2 tackle pieces? And no real mighty blow to back that up. J-Leave, however, while he also only has 2 tackle pieces, the tackle pieces have mighty blow. So it's possible that we're just going to see targeted removals using this werewolf. Doesn't look like any skills are being taken so far. Game is not live. I've not seen anyone mention it so far. If the audio is cutting in or out, do let me know, because I have put on a noise gate and I just want to make sure that that's working correctly. Also, if the Twitch ads are obnoxious, I'm trying to balance them. So I do need to know if they're being ridiculous so that I can try to improve that, because I don't want to ruin playoff experience for anyone. Not seeing anything said in either of the playoff channels, so just kind of waiting at the moment. So I guess here's a question. Do Amazons foul a lot? Because like their linemen are not expensive. In fact, 50K for a 6'3" that starts with dodge is actually like pretty cheap. It might be a little hard. Um, it might be a little hard in this matchup just because of all the frenzy and mighty blow tackle involved. Oh, there's my alarm for 2 p.m. But at the same time, if the werewolf isn't careful, we might see it get fouled. So maybe we see like either a bribe or just more linemen. I don't like that it doesn't show you what the mercenaries cost. Biased ref is also not a bad call. That would be interesting. Because we know that J-Leave wants the foul. Yeah, I think they can afford one. It's right about there. Yeah, it is exactly 120K. So maybe we'll see like a biased ref picked up. And I mean, it's not like picking up a like double keg is bad. Just like double keg and assistant coach. Because with the amount of money blow tackle the amount of money blow we're looking at, we are expecting a fair bit of armor breaks and removals. Yeah. We are live, and now we'll get to see what they're doing. Yeah. Doc Mark out of G-Man Fresh is 8-0-3, which is also a pretty impressive record. Doesn't look like J-Leave has picked up any new skills unless I missed the TV jump. But that does give Doc Mark exactly 120K to work with. How much are the mercs? 80K. So I don't think one line woman is really worth it. So maybe it does look like that's what we're going with the double kegs after all. Which I don't know that there's one choice is better than the other. Yeah, double keg and a cheerleader. And truthfully, I still haven't decided if an assistant coach or a cheerleader is better. And that might just come down to RNG of which one turns out to be better. if it first chooses to receive the ball and purposely puts Doc Mark on offense, or on defense rather. I don't know if Amazons would prefer to go on defense first, because it feels similar to a lot of AV7 teams where it's like, we're gonna get removed, so we want to defend first in order to have as many players to defend with as possible. These blocker pieces though are gonna be real interesting to watch, just because defensive is just an unusual skill, and it's hard to figure out, like, how do you play around it? Especially with Strength 4, it has the ability to blitz into awkward spots. Opting to just use the Dauntless Line Woman, just put her on the LOS. If she lives, she lives. 3 deep and 2 deep. Seems to be going to set up heavy on one side. I'm not sure if there's something he's particularly concerned about, if on one of these sides, or if he just wants more zombies on this side. Maybe he wants to foul this blocker? But the fouler piece is over here. I don't know. Maybe he just wants to blitz the blocker. Oh boy, my favorite. Treacherous trapdoors. We don't get to see the trapdoors live. They're just in the same spot. Yeah. So, oh, here it is. They just appeared. For those that don't know, these bear traps are actually trapdoors. And when a player steps on them or is pushed onto them on a roll of a 1, they are considered to be pushed off the pitch. They always show up in these 2 squares. It is a truly awful inducement. OS blocks, so far, just 2 breaks. Still opting to blitz the warrior blocker as opposed to the line woman who is currently marking a werewolf. Moving the dirty player back to cover, so no foul this turn. And the blocker is fine. Yes, in one of the qualifier games on like turn 15, someone was pushed onto the trapdoor and it triggered. But at that point, if I remember correctly, the game was pretty much over. No knockdown on the blitz into the Wraith, who just sidesteps. So now these guys are What is this skill? After performing a block action, this player is still... If this player, if still standing, may immediately move one free square, ignoring any tackle zone after the free move. You must not mark or be marked by any opposition player. That is an interesting skill. And I just missed it when we were looking at themes. I've never seen actually... Because I've never actually played against Amazon, so I've never actually seen that used. Doc Mark just setting up a screen and getting ready to dodge out. This piece is unfortunately marked because of sidestep. Setting up a bit of some frenzy traps here. Frenzy into this, and then you've got two people marking you. Just trying to limit the number of blocks. J-Leave, considering his options and plan, does look like he's still going after this blocker, or maybe he's just marking up these pieces. He just does not want these blockers free to cancel out his guard, because guard is one of his big advantages right now. Again, using the dirty player for something other than fouling makes me kind of sad. They do seem to be marking up a lot of pieces. And the guard is not really like supporting itself. Just a push on that one. But again, because of the way these players are set up with frenzy traps, he couldn't afford to blitz with the werewolf, because this would have followed into a one. Would have followed into a red, actually. Yep. No knockdown on the blitz, no knockdown on the marked piece. He's gotten into pretty heavy base contact, and he has put himself in contact with the defensive piece. First action, block. I don't know, I feel like that block is not that important. You could do that block later. So, for those that are not aware, defensive means that if you're marking them, they can't use guard. So this piece cannot use guard, which means with one assist, this Wraith is vulnerable to this blitzer. And then with this zombie marked, if this Wraith gets knocked down, this Golem is vulnerable. Wraith does not get knocked down. We might see it. If it sidesteps here, it cancels out this tackle zone, but it is also going to get blocked a second time. So opts to sidestep backwards, which means this Golem is... Wait! Why did he use the blocker? The blitzer should have... The blitzer should have had a 2-die there, and then the blocker could 2-die the flesh golem. Now we can't punch the flesh golem. I'm confused. Mighty Blow hit into the dirty player. We do get a knockdown. Stuns him. KOs him. So there's no fouls. It doesn't work on your turn. Okay. I understand. That makes the skill during the turn of your opponent. Okay, I understand. This is why no one takes this skill ever. This is why I've never seen it used. I think the only time I've seen it taken has been on randoms. Yeah, we're getting a fair few pieces around the back here. Just putting some pressure on this ghoul. It is movement 8 though. So we can kind of just run up here and then box. But at the same time, we are in base contact with a billion things. Fails a dodge, KOs himself. So I would expect we'll just see this ghoul come running up here. Or we're going in base contact with this blitzer. So we're presumably blitzing with this Mighty Blow Tackle Werewolf. I don't know. I feel like my choice would have been going after the Shrower. We do get a break. We do get a KO. I mean, that is a good piece to remove. I just wonder if the thrower wouldn't have been a better target. Just a push there, but it does take the line woman off of the cage. This is a 1-die at the moment, which is a little concerning. We might see this Wraith come around and slot in here to mark up this piece and apply guard. Yep, that is what we're seeing. Just a push, but again, just making the cage not based. Do get a knockdown on the Uber line woman. Yeah. So, to clarify, defensive means that if this zombie blocks into this blocker, it'll be a red die as opposed to a 1-die. Okay. Yeah, that explains why I never see this skill used. J-Leave now, pushing in fairly hard. Feels a little awkward to deal with this. This blocker is sort of screened out from the play. And like, you can bring these players over, but if you bring them over here, then J-Leave just goes this way. We do get a knockdown on the Wraith. J-Leave uncertain where he wants the Wraith to land. Opts for the safest path. We follow up onto the other Wraith, so we're likely to see it blitz into that cage corner. Marking the Wraith, are we gonna see a dive? Nope, that's a blitz, and we failed the foul appearance roll. Dr. Mark, unsure if he wants to re-roll that. Opts not to. But the problem with that is you've left yourself in base contact with two pieces. And your team is kind of like cut in half here, it feels like. Pausing, potentially trying to figure out where he wants to put this thrower. Because back here alone, it is very vulnerable. But also, Jaylee probably doesn't want to blitz backwards. Yeah, so just putting it to the side and saying you're gonna want to go up this left side anyway. You don't want to blitz sideways and backwards. Not following up onto the zombie. But I suppose the zombie is, like, screened off from getting anywhere relevant anyway. So we might just see it mark this thrower. The question becomes, is Jayleaf happy with where he is on the pitch? And is just going to take all these blocks and hit this thrower? And that's kind of what it's looking like. I am slightly concerned that this is not like the safest cage. We do get the knockdown on the thrower. Mighty Blow does nothing, but it is marked by many pieces. We'll probably see a foul of some description, I would assume. I guess this is fine, just because this screen is way out here. Get a knockdown on that line woman, which means this cage is no longer... What? I don't like that follow-in. So because of this follow, if we don't get a POW... Ooh, we got lucky. This warrior is Blodge. If you don't get a POW on this, then that blocker gets to hit this flesh golem, and if it knocks down that flesh golem, there's just a path onto the ball. If you stay put after that block, you close out that possibility. I think that follow is a big mistake, and he just got bailed out by that POW. That's a 3+ to 1 die the ball. Like, sure, it's POW fishing. It's a 3+2+2+6+, essentially. But also, if you've got this much control of the pitch, you shouldn't be giving those opportunities, in my opinion. Ghoul survives the knockdown. And I'm assuming we're just going to see Doc Mark disengage all these pieces. Positioning is getting a little bit awkward. This blocker is increasingly getting cut off from where the rest of the team is standing. This guy is behind the enemy. And also, he's not a particularly great blitzer, because none of his skills like help him with that. So like, sure, he's back there, but also, what exactly is he gonna do other than POW fish? So we see another thrower committed to this right-hand side in order to generate a 2-die block for the blocker. The blocker stays. Is that gonna allow this thrower to dodge out and attempt to reconnect with the team? Uber Line Woman dodges away. Thrower does dodge out. Doesn't opt to try to reconnect with the team, just says, look, it's turn 5. If you want to blitz this valuable piece, you're going to have to go sideways. And it kind of looks like J-Leaf is okay with that. Just putting a bunch of piece under guard threat. Okay, the ball is moving forward. We do blitz the leader, we frenzy forward, and we knock him down. No break. Are we going to see a foul out of this? It'll be -1 plus 3, so it'll be a +2 foul. Doesn't look like we're doing a foul off of that movement. This does seem relatively safe though. Like, sure it's base, but also like there's guard here, there's guard here. Yeah, and we're just putting the werewolf beside the ball. J-Leave sort of opting for a middle play between breaking through this line and going after this thrower. And he does still have a couple turns to move down the pitch, and the runner is movement 8, so he doesn't need to get that much further. Like, he needs minimum 1 square, preferably 3. Do generate a knockdown on the random zombie. Follow up onto the werewolf, so we might see a blitz onto this werewolf. But also, like, it's POW fishing, so that's not, like, super scary. No knockdown. Do we see this thrower dodge backwards and try to start working his way back towards the backfield? Because I'm increasingly feeling like this thrower is not accomplishing anything. Thrower stays there. Perhaps hoping to just continue to bait J-Leaf to blitz sideways as opposed to making forward progress. 1-die POW on the Wraith. Follow-up there is going to allow a 2-die block into that flesh golem. We do get a stun, which is pretty useful this turn, because that is guard, tackle, block, mighty blow, and we get a knockdown on the flesh golem. And with those 2 knockdowns, and with that stun, J-Leave is just a little bit boxed in right now. Does look like J-Leave is okay with continuing to just walk forward and grind through the Amazons. No knockdown on this dauntless line woman. No follow-up there. How are we protecting the ball? Are we just gonna do this line cage and give him the one die? Because it doesn't feel like there's a good way to keep it safe at this point. More pushes into this line woman. Finally get a knockdown. It only took, 4 blocks. Do get a stun for our troubles. Probably have to... That's a GFI. I don't know how I feel about this setup. Like, sure, he's got the guard stand firm all up in Doc Mark's team, but there's nothing supporting it. And it doesn't really stop these players from repositioning over here. And it's like, we're just gonna see these two players collapse on this end and isolate out probably one of, if not both, the Wraiths. Doc Mark possibly going to be in a very strong position at the end of this turn, depending on how he plays this. Doc Mark pausing, considering his play. Using all of that time. Does look like he wants to blitz into this werewolf, which makes sense. We do generate a knockdown on that. We do remove the werewolf. And now he can step forward if he wants to. Opts to step to the side. Oh no, you can't step forward because you can't mark. You can't end the turn marking. Or you can't end the movement marking the another player. So you couldn't step to the forward. This thrower finally gets around back in front of Jay Leave's team. Its job accomplished. Yeah. Question for those that know about Amazons. The hit and run, does that use some of the player's movement? Does it use 1 square of your movement? It's not like a free move action. Okay, so it uses 1 square of movement. So that hit and run was just actively incorrect if you wanted to mark the ball. He shouldn't have used hit and run because then he would have had 1 square of movement to just walk forward. Okay, correction, it is a free square. Okay, so it is just a free square of movement. So he would have had the GFI regardless. Okay, fair enough. Oof. J-Leave now having to blitz backwards. And not even freeing up the ball with the blitz. Not really something you want to see. I think that feels like the main issue I have with the way J-Leave has played this drive is that he was always blitzing like backwards and to the side. He was never blitzing forward to improve his position. I think that's the only real problem I have with the way he was like. Uh-oh. Dodging off a tackle does fail. Uses the team reroll, gets away. Has built a fair little cage here, but it is marked. This is a base cage. Admittedly, most of the Amazons are now way off on the left side, out of position, and they don't really have the movement to get back to threaten the right-hand side of this cage. But there is a blocker right here. So, like, a dodge out to mark here. If you get a knockdown, this blocker could run in and punch this ghoul. But at the same time, like, what is... J-Leave doesn't really have this option. He is accounting for that. And using these dodges and GFIs to screen out that wraparound... excuse me, that wraparound play. With this reposition and with that dodge through, this spot is now so much stronger. Doc Mark just taking advantage of the higher movement speed he has over the Amazons. Doc Mark just trying to figure out how he's getting in front of this. And with that failure to knock down, I would probably... It's a wrestle, so he does get the piece down, but it doesn't open up a path. So like you have to dodge here and then dodge through this square. I feel like I would have re-rolled that, because it is turn 7. So I feel like I would have been happy with a push there. We do see a failed dodge and a badly hurt. It is just a lineman. It is the Dauntless lineman, which is slightly useful for like if it ends up in base contact with Flesh Golem. However, 2 kegs, we're likely to see these 2 KOs come back. So Doc Mark is not in any particular troubles when it comes to players. 3, 4, 5. So we could generate a 3 die here. I think we know my thoughts on taking 2 die blocks on turn 8 during playoffs. I feel like the correct play was generate a 3 die block, blitz with Mighty Blow, and then score. But J-Leave does not agree. It seems like he's opting for damage here. There is a skull, so that It's forcing out a reroll. Does get the knockdown. Does get another KO. Do you see two of the KOs come back? The Mighty Blow Block Blitzer is unfortunately not one of them. Yep, just putting 3 zombies on the LOS. And then lining up on the back line. This zombie has SPP, so it comes off the pitch for no SPP zombie. Perhaps hoping to get either another dirty player or a kick piece off of that. And looks like we're just going to take a bunch of blocks. Maybe we'll see a foul here, since there is still a 1-player bench and this KO is likely to come back. Ooh, someone earns the stab skill. This lineman can now stab this zombie. It does not work. Is that till the end of the drive? That is till the end of the drive, so that is going to be there for exactly 1 turn. Yep, and then make this a 3-die, because why not? And we'll probably see the same thing. What? Sure, this has block, but this is a blocker. You could make that a 3-die. Whatever. It's not that big a deal. We do find the knockdown. So, do we see a foul? I mean, it is just a zombie, and your opponent does have a 2-player bench. So, fouling here is not particularly valuable. See a failure on the pickup. We re-roll it into another failure on the pickup. We do get the KO'd Blitzer back. So, going into the second half, it is 1-0 to Jay Leave, who has his entire team remaining. Doc Mark has 1 injured Dauntless Linewoman, which means he still has, I believe it's a 2-player bench actually. Doc Mark still has his Apo, and the only other expenditure is for Jay Leave burning about 32 seconds of his bonus time, and Doc Mark is down to 5 minutes 14. Not a lot of bonus time burnt here, which is good for me because the less time I spend stuck casting this game, is the less time missed of the game that started about 10-15 minutes ago. Should be noted that the treacherous trapdoor effect has ended. It did not matter at all, and literally never matters because it is always in the same square on the sideline. So no, you just don't go to that square. Darkmar doesn't seem to really be making any changes in his offensive setup, which is not really a huge deal because J-Leave is not set up to particularly wrap around and doesn't have kick. Maybe, you know, put a player like a square back in this way on either side just to make the wraparound a little bit harder. Not a lot going on at the moment. Just repositioning some pieces. Now the question becomes, can Dockmark push through the Necro as effectively as the Necro pushed through him? Can he somehow leverage his defensive to turn off like the Flesh Golem's guard in key moments? Prevent the werewolves from blitzing with impunity? Who rolled that one? Yeah, that was again Dockmark's roll. So now any one of J-League's players that fouls is automatically sent off. So we will not be seeing very many fouls out of J-League. We might still see a foul, depending on like what piece is here. Leader reroll already used. Flesh Golem remains standing, which is a little annoying. Can't really get a good angle to blitz it. We are marking up pretty heavily in order to make this blitz into the Wraith. Slightly concerned that the werewolf is getting a follow-up block for free off of it. Wraith goes down, and then the blitzer can sidestep backwards off. Mm, I don't like going backwards into that square. I would have preferred the blitzer to stay in this square in order to make this a frenzy trap. Because that would be blitzing into a 1-die, whereas right now, well, no, I mean defensive is here. So this is a 1-die. He marks one here, and then he blitzes in, and it goes into a red die. Opts for the PAL. Doesn't want to be standing in this exact square at the least. Gets a stun on that line woman. Backs off to reposition in order to be able to blitz next turn. And now we're just going to see 2 into a 2. We do get the block knocked down, so this werewolf doesn't have to follow up into base contact. All this guard is cancelled, but this is a natural strength 4. Unable to block the line woman because of defensive, but at the same time, what are they gonna do here? There's just a wall of guard in their way. Doc Mark, considering his options, I'm not sure he can fight into this front line. It feels like he has to just disengage. And that does appear to be the tack that Dark Mark is setting. Does have block, so this zombie does go down without caught. Or has wrestle rather. No? He has wrestle and block. Also, it looks a lot like he took the skull, and I'm not entirely sure why it does that sometimes. Yeah, and then just repositioning to the side here. Can't really fight into the center line of guard stand firm. I am slightly concerned though that like he's gonna reposition over here and then just the guard is just gonna walk over here and he's just gonna get choked out. Because it's not like he only needs 1 or 2 squares down this sideline in order to score. He's only movement 6. Like, that's the fastest piece on his team, with the exception of the blitzers who are currently behind the lines. Wait a minute. The Mighty Blow Blitzer came back off of the KO and then he left him on the sidelines? On purpose? I didn't even like process that, because the Apple was still there. Surely that wasn't intentional, right? It's a little confusing to... Struggling to... Uh-oh. Is there a world where we can chain push this zombie in and get blocks on the wall? We have stood that zombie up, which means we're not using it to hit the ball for a 1-die. We could just push it in and try to disrupt this cage, though, which is not a bad play. Also slightly surprised that we're not trying to surf this line woman, because this player would have had the movement in order to push her off and then come back over here. So not entirely sure what the blitz play is this turn. We do just get a push on the blocker. Doc Mark maybe or J-Leave may be reconsidering what piece he wants to push backwards due to the blocker staying standing. Does opt to just push the thrower farther back, and now we're blitzing into the cage. Get a knockdown. Are we going to blitz into stand firm? It looks like we're blitzing into the stand firm, and we opt to not stand. So we're just pushing the guard back into place. And now we've got a werewolf with tackle marking the ball. It is going to get punched. But opting to dodge away. If we do one more go for it, we could double GFI, and we'd have a flesh golem marking the ball. Unsure if that's worth it. J-Leave does appear to be... no? So we're going backwards, just marking this blocker, trying to limit the options for Doc Mark to blitz through. And again, Doc Mark does have this slight issue of just, he needs, not only does he need to break through, but he needs to make up significant squares. He needs to go minimum 4, preferably full 6 squares of movement in order to score. And sure, the attrition is fine right now, but Doc Mark can't be thinking that he wants to go into overtime, right? Because a full 8 turns in this drive, and then, you know, another 4, 5, 6 turns, he's gonna start losing out on attrition. Just because of the mighty blow tackle he's dealing with, and the amount of guard that is out positioning him. Do appear to be repositioning back, or trying to reposition off to this left side. If I was J-Leave, I would be concerned, start to be slightly concerned about these 2 linewomen. Because this one's, they're starting to try to sneak down this sideline. And these throwers are pretty good. So we might be, Doc Mark might be looking at a long pass, or even like a handoff to this piece into a pass down to this side as his plan to score. Sidestepping away, just remaining in front of things. Yeah, making it so the blitzer can't use hit and run to move forward position-wise, making him go back into that square. Fails to dodge there. Uses team reroll, still fails to dodge. Not sure that player was really, that reroll was really needed. As a reminder, this is an overtime format. And if Dockmark scores this drive, odds are we are going to overtime. Just judging by how long this drive is starting to take. Perhaps a slightly hasty reroll there. Push Golem does knock down the blocker. Yeah, and then just guard. The guard wall is continuing to close in. Might be seeing a surf here. Could be a surf. Alternatively, he could blitz into this line woman and go into the stand firm. That does appear to be his play. Go into the stand firm. Doesn't have to mark the ball here. Just has to prevent it from moving forward. And continue to like screen out and push the ball back into the side. I am becoming concerned that this linewoman is hidden and has successfully snuck through past Jay Leaves' notice. Jay Leave either hasn't noticed or I'm assuming has decided that this linewoman is not a threat from its current position. Maybe feeling secure in how he's cut these throwers off from being able to get around to this linewoman. A lot of these players are pretty heavily locked up with guard. Just standing up a couple players are blitzing into this Wraith. Yeah, so blitz into the Wraith and this player isn't standing. I don't know what the follow-up to that is. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the follow-up to that is. We could get a player back here, punch this Wraith, and then punch the Flesh Golem, and that would get us a lot closer to this linewoman. Wraith does remain standing, so it's probably just going to sidestep up here. We hit it with the blocker. Yeah, I guess it would have to. You would need a second assist to make this a 2-die. Linewoman now going deep down the field. The only player that could respond to it is this ghoul. Question is, do you feel threatened enough by this position that you felt like you should have tossed the ball this turn? This one is not particularly great at throwing. It's good at holding on to the ball. This is the one that is the thrower. Perhaps we'll see this dodge out and... No. The issue with this positioning is you have to make it so this Wraith can't block into here. Also, a removal on a zombie, I believe that was. Yeah. So, I think ideally, Doc Mark would have liked to be able to dodge this piece out so he could hand off or dump off to it, and then run down here and just cannon it down to this line woman. But the problem is, if you dodge off here, this is now a 1 die, potentially even a 2 die, that just opens up this cage and puts guard on this thrower. Considering some knockdowns down here, potentially looking to free up some pieces with those. Is it? Isn't really freeing up any pieces with any of these blocks, which has me slightly concerned. Because I feel like hitting all these pieces down here is not advancing J-Leave's position. It's not really improving it. Whereas last turn, Dogmark improved his position immensely. Because sure, he went backwards, but he's no longer being squeezed out like he was. No knockdown on thrower. He is going to want to keep this thrower in base contact. He kind of needs this follow-up block. I don't know about that. This increasingly feels like Duckmark's entire plan is to give it to the Cannoneer and just cannon it down to Iris back here. We do fail the 1 die, which is a bit of an issue. I feel like that's a bit of an issue, right? Put this player here, that's a 2 die block, and then all 4 of these players reposition down here, and now suddenly we've got a cage on this side, and sure, you can reposition in front of it, but it's gonna take like just 1 blitz through, and suddenly a very reasonable chance of just scoring. Blitzer using a hit and run to advance forward. Marks up the zombie? I guess, like, if you're making a cage here, you're gonna end up in base contact regardless. So I guess if you're in base contact, at least be in base contact with blodge sidestep, where you can sidestep and still be in the way. I don't know, I feel like Jaylee's last turn, he should have spent his blocks more economically in order to free these players up to reposition to be in front of this. Because it just feels like he didn't accomplish anything with all these blocks. Like, he pushed some players around and he knocked them down. But he just didn't respond to Darkmark's previous turn. And now Darkmark is the one out Jaylee. No knockdown on this, which is unfortunate. One, two, three, four, five, six. I don't know. It's at the end of this turn, we might see. Yeah, he just dodges around and comes over here. I might have considered dodging out and then stopping. And if I didn't use my dodge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'd cut through in order to buy that additional square. Because theoretically, you could get, with GFIs, all the way to be right beside this thrower. Then all it is like a handoff or an immediate dump off to the cannoneer. Admittedly, Iris has walked backwards to become part of this massive screen. So you could easily just hand off to Iris if that is the play. Feels like we could have kept Iris back here. It felt a little bit to me like J-Leave just didn't care. Or didn't, like, either didn't notice or just made a decision to not care that Iris was back here. And I feel like that's a massive threat that I would have kept to have the option to just pass to here and then run this way. But I suppose at the same time, it kind of comes down to what the objective was with putting this player down here. If the objective was to say, hey, there's a player running down your sidelines, you have to respond to it, and you were never really planning to pass to this piece, and then your opponent doesn't respond to it, well then you've just, like, removed the player from play. So maybe using her as a screen is just more valuable than as a scoring threat. But at the same time, Dockmark does need to, like, buy a few more turns of stalling. And it doesn't feel like he's going to be in a position to stall for very many more turns. So I would have wanted to, like, get the ball to Iris and then run Iris, like, over here. It's like you force him to respond to this side and then you switch sides. And that buys you an extra turn, maybe. All these linewomen are... like, this linewoman's not marked. This one can dodge out. Got a block here, which frees up the thrower. Dockmark, considering what his objective for this turn is, starts with a GFI just to base up a bunch of players. We do get the knockdown on the Flesh Golem, so that is one piece freed up. And notice that it is the thrower that he's opted to free up. He didn't try to free up this linewoman, which is further forward and has tackle. So trying to keep this passing threat alive. I am struggling to see how Dockmark buys too many more turns, though. Does manage to knock down on the werewolf. So maybe he can get around back behind these players. And that'll be enough. Like, stand back behind here. That'll be enough to buy him another turn. We do fail the dodge out. That's kind of important. Uses a team reroll. Gets away. I don't like that position now. How do you protect that? We do dodge out, and we are seeing a foul on this werewolf. This was not the werewolf I was ever concerned about. Because this ghoul just blocks this thrower. Pushes it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 GFI. And it becomes significantly better if this ghoul gets both down or a POW. I feel like the better play would have been to run through here and be behind your defensive line. Especially because you were planning to bring this line woman over anyway. I don't know. Maybe he was concerned that, like, the foul would get him sent off, but that was a maybe expose yourself to some risk as opposed to guaranteed expose yourself to a blitz risk. Maybe he's okay with this because he has dump off, so we can just give it to this blitzer. J-Leave not opting to go after the ball. Which confuses me because it doesn't feel like he's going to get another shot at hitting the ball. Maybe deciding that with a 1 reroll advantage and with the Mighty Blow tackle advantage, he just plays for attrition for the next couple turns. Try to go into overtime with some form of advantage, but at the same time, Doc Mark still has 2 bench. So you have to injure like 3 players in order to build an actual like man advantage. Yeah, I don't know about this turn. That was the turn that felt like that was the turn you make a play at the ball. So you stand up here, that's a 2-die. This becomes a 2-die blitz. And then the ball just runs down here and is largely safe because it's mostly screened off at that point. Well, that's a double skull, so that's the last reroll used. The game thinks that we took the double skull, but we did not take double skull there. Yeah, with that last reroll used, Doc Mark might feel enough pressure that he might take that GFI to score. That's not the blitz, so is he blitzing with the ball carrier? Does blitz with the ball carrier, passes foul appearance. Gets the knockdown. So the Wraith will not sidestep in the way. Can he actually be in the way of this werewolf? Doesn't look like it at the moment. He needs to like dodge out, and even then, the best he can do is mark. So J-Leave probably going to take these 2 GFIs. Doesn't immediately go for it. Doc Mark, perhaps slightly concerned by a tripwire. Yep, Ops not to score. Come on, game. There we go. Ops not to score, but this is not safe. Like, this is not even remotely safe. 1 block here, and this werewolf can come touch the ball. 1 block here, this werewolf can come touch the ball. So, block here, you dodge out, you mark. Block here. GFI, that's a 2-die blitz with tackle. Tackle and Mighty Blow. And sure, you've got like safe pass and dump off and stuff. But what are you throwing to? You're throwing backwards to this line woman at this point. I don't know. I think you needed to take the GFIs and score there, and then hope you can stop the 2-turn. But Doc is the one that is in playoffs, and I am not. So we'll see what happens here. Doesn't even take the 2-die block, just dodges out using the dodge. And this is the blitz. Oh, this is the blitz. This makes more sense. I was confused by the... Just a push there. Follow-up is into a 2-die. We do get the POW. So now the ball is like way over here. If we break this thrower, there is no way... Uh-oh. That's a KO. Appoing that doesn't even fix anything. And the magnet hands. So how does Doc get to the ball now? He has to dodge these pieces out and blitz into this werewolf and hope he gets a POW. And then the ball has to scatter... You walk this way and the ball has to scatter like over here for this piece to be able to get to it. So presumably you just block these pieces here, right? If you knock like one of them down, the play becomes significantly harder. No, instead opting to dodge out and reposition in front of them, it looks like. J-Leave working through the implications of where he wants to stand with his piece. 3, 4, 5, 6 can get here. And then this is just a complete screen that forces out multiple blocks. Well, Fiction, my thing is, like, even with no reroll, that was not a safe place to stand even remotely. Like, you weren't even screening the wolves off. There was... Like, we watched it. It was a 2-die block and a 3+ with a reroll. And frankly, the 3+ with a reroll was less safe, because he could have taken another 2-die block with block in order to make that blitz even easier. Like, in that position, you 100%, you have to score. And that we've seen exactly why. Because even if this... Because, like, with that thrower broken, the ball comes this way. Like, there's no world where Doc ever recovers that. J-Leaf? J-Leaf's spending a lot of time thinking through this action. Looks like we have an admin issue with the game. That's a real rough position for a DC. So J-Leaf appears to have been kicked out of the game, has restarted, and is not reconnecting to the game. That's a problem. So what was the rest of this turn? If, like, theoretically, you reposition here, you dodge this piece out, so like you don't even have to dodge this piece out. You just block here, and this guy goes up here, and you dodge him out last action to make the dodge through harder. Yeah, just get all of the players in the position that they were currently in. Just for the record of what's going on with the game. Just KOs here. And that is just a badly hurt. Oh boy. I really hope we don't have to reset this, because this is an admin nightmare. Now, I'm not going to really comment on the possibilities of what's going on here, because I am an admin. I think I think J-Leave was in a pretty strong position, but I am not going to bias the decision making and comment on what's going on here. It's possible we'll have to reset this. And I hope not, because this was a fairly well played game. Let's get a screenshot of the field, just so that we have a screenshot of the field. Yeah, there is some discussion happening right now, so stand by with us. Also, should be noted, Duckmark is also an admin, so definitely not going to talk about possibilities. Really strange here that it is still just ticking. Can I... Okay, just gonna kill the interface sounds for a second, so that we're just not maddened by constant ticking. Yeah, Zord, I feel that. I'm not even involved with some of the other admins, and I feel that. For those of you not in the loop, I'm currently looking at the admin Discord. There's a discussion going on right now. Just still finishing up this discussion in the admin Discord, figuring out what we're going to do about this. The server deciding to eat J-Leave's final turn. Looks like we're just about coming to a conclusion. I can fill you all in. Okay, so talking it over, Docmark is going to concede this as a 1-0 win for J-Leave. Because while there was some dice that Docmark could roll, he acknowledges J-Leave's position is super strong, and it's like god tier dice to get through here and get this score. So this will be admin to be a 1-0 win for J-Leave. I am unfortunately not going to be able to get to a result screen and show SBP, so I'm not sure what's about to happen with this game. We may have to go, this possibility we'll have to go through the VOD and figure out that. So yes, a 1-0 win for J-Leave. Congratulations to J-Leave, who will be moving on to the round of 16, and commiserations to Docmark. It was a hard-fought game, and perhaps just a slight mistake in the last turn or two. Now, who does he move on to play? Yeah. Luckily, the only games that are under... There are no games that are under spoiler embargo, because it's been 24 hours since yesterday in the last games that were played. So, J-Leave will move on to play in the round of 16, the Colorful Vikings. Who, for some reason, I cannot find on ReBBL.net. Vikings. Here we go. Colorful Vikings are a Norse team, predictably, coached by Liam Colston out of Big Ol' Fresh. And we do have one more game for today. So we will go back to the main menu. And I'm pretty sure that that game has concluded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the stream and then restart it 5 seconds later. And we're going to go into the replay of that game. So give me just a moment.